The small town of Lexington, Kentucky was peaceful. Too peaceful, some said. It was a place where people waved at strangers, where the local diners still served pies made from scratch, and where everyone knew everyone else's business. But behind one white picket fence on Maple Street, a deadly secret was growing inside a happy-looking home. Mariah Jackson, 28 years old, was glowing. She was 32 weeks pregnant, and everything seemed perfect, at least on the outside. She lived with her boyfriend, Marcus Hines, a 33-year-old mechanic with a short fuse but a charming smile. To their friends, they were the picture of a modern, hard-working couple getting ready to welcome a child into the world. But things at home were different. Mariah had planned a surprise baby shower at her sister's house on a breezy Saturday afternoon. The decorations were beautiful. Blue and pink balloons floating above tables covered with food, cupcakes, and tiny baby socks. She wore a white lace maternity dress that hugged her belly gently. Her long brown curls bounced with every step, and her smile made it hard to believe she was hiding anything. The party had one theme: wait to see. Mariah didn't reveal the baby's gender. The cake was neutral, the gifts wrapped in yellow and green. Everyone thought it was cute, except Marcus. He hated surprises. He wanted a boy. He expected a boy. He had told Mariah months ago that the Jackson family needed a son to carry the name. But Mariah had known the truth for a while. During her 20-week scan, the nurse had asked if she wanted to know the baby's gender. Marcus wasn't there that day. Work had called him in last minute. Mariah said yes. The nurse smiled and said softly, "It's a girl." Tears had filled her eyes. Not from disappointment. Mariah had always dreamed of having a daughter. But she knew Marcus would be upset. He had grown up in a rough neighborhood where men were taught to be tough and feared. He had a strained relationship with his father, who had once told him, "Real men make sons." So she decided not to tell him. At the shower, Marcus stood stiffly in the corner, sipping punch and faking smiles. He leaned into Mariah and whispered, "When do we cut the cake?" She giggled nervously. "After the games." He didn't laugh. Later that night, back home, Mariah stood in the kitchen, rubbing her belly and humming. Marcus sat on the couch, silent, watching her. Then he asked again, "Is it a boy?" She paused, the humming stopped. He repeated louder, "Mariah, is it a boy?" She turned around, eyes soft, and said, "Marcus, I think we should wait to be surprised." His jaw tightened. "You already know." She said nothing. He stood up. Mariah stepped back. The room grew tense. The only sound was the ticking of the wall clock. "I said, is it a boy?" he growled. Tears welled up in her eyes. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to protect herself, but she looked down at her belly and whispered, "It's a girl." What followed was silence. Then something inside Marcus snapped. He turned, walked to the door, and left without a word. Mariah locked the door behind him and cried herself to sleep, thinking maybe, just maybe, he would cool off. But she had no idea what was coming next. The next morning, the Kentucky sky was gray and heavy with clouds. Rain tapped lightly on the windows of Mariah's small home, as if nature itself was warning her of what lay ahead. Mariah woke up alone in bed. Marcus hadn't returned during the night. She reached for her phone. No calls, no messages. Her heart pounded. A part of her felt relief. The house was quiet, calm. Another part of her felt something darker. Was he gone for good? Or was this just the calm before the storm? She made a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table, gently rubbing her round belly. The baby kicked. "You're safe with me," she whispered. But she wasn't sure she believed it. Mariah called her sister Tina. "He knows," she said softly. Tina's voice turned sharp. "What did he say? What did he do?" "He didn't yell. He just left," Tina sighed. "Come stay with me for a few days." Mariah shook her head. I want to believe he just needs time." Tina paused, then said, "Just be careful, okay?" Mariah promised she would. But by that evening, things changed. Marcus came back. He walked in without knocking. Mariah was on the couch watching TV. She froze when the door opened. His clothes were wet from the rain, and his eyes were bloodshot. She smelled alcohol. "Where's my daughter?" he asked with a twisted smile. Mariah forced a small laugh. So, you're okay with having a girl now? He walked slowly toward her. I've had time to think. Mariah stood up, cautious. I didn't mean to lie. I just didn't want you to be upset. You think I'm stupid? He snapped. No, Marcus. He grabbed a photo frame off the table and threw it against the wall. The glass shattered, the photo of their first ultrasound falling to the ground. Mariah screamed. You lied to me, he roared. She backed away. Please. Marcus, I'm sorry. He stepped closer. I should have known. You're just like my mother, full of secrets, full of lies. Mariah reached for her phone, but he slapped it out of her hand. The baby kicked hard. Her breathing quickened. Then he did something unexpected. He fell to his knees and placed his head on her stomach. She's innocent, he whispered. You're not. Mariah stood frozen, unsure of what to say. She was scared, terrified, but part of her still hoped that this was the moment he would finally soften. Then he stood up, looked her in the eye and said, But I won't let her grow up to lie like you. She didn't understand what that meant, but she felt cold all over. I need air, he muttered and left again. Mariah locked the door, every bolt. She slept in her clothes that night, phone in hand, her sister's number already typed in, just in case. But nothing happened. 2 quiet days passed. Marcus didn't come back. She began to breathe easier. She started packing a bag. She told herself it was just for a weekend at Tina's, but deep down she knew it was time to leave him. On the 3rd day, she got into her car and drove to the doctor for a regular prenatal checkup. The nurse took her blood pressure, asked questions, listened to the baby's heartbeat. Everything seemed normal. As she left the clinic, walking toward her car in the parking lot, a black SUV pulled in fast and stopped beside her. She turned, confused. The window rolled down. It was Marcus. He was smiling. Too wide. Need a ride home? He asked. Mariah shook her head. Number, I'm good. But Marcus didn't take no for an answer. Mariah's heart skipped a beat as she stared at Marcus behind the wheel. His smile was calm, but too calm. The kind that didn't reach the eyes. The kind that sent chills through her bones. I said I'm good, she repeated, backing away. Come on, babe, let's talk, Marcus said. We need to fix this. I've been thinking, and I'm not mad anymore. Mariah looked around the parking lot. A few cars, no people. Her phone buzzed in her bag. It was Tina. She ignored it. Please, Marcus said, voice softer now. Let's go somewhere quiet. I just want to talk. I promise, Mariah hesitated. A part of her still wanted to believe he meant well, that he regretted what he did, that this was the father of her child trying to make things right. So she got in. As the door shut, a loud click echoed in her ears. The lock. Marcus drove in silence, heading out of town. Trees lined the narrow country road as rain drizzled softly across the windshield. He turned the radio off. The silence was loud. Where are we going? Mariah finally asked. Somewhere peaceful, he said. Mariah's hands gripped her belly. The baby kicked again, as if sensing her fear. I packed a bag, she said, trying to break the tension. I was going to stay with Tina. Marcus didn't respond. The road curved and narrowed. Fewer houses, more trees. Mariah's eyes darted to the dashboard. No signal. I wish you'd told me earlier, he said suddenly. Told you what? That it was a girl, he said. I would have handled it better if you had just told me. But you lied, Mariah. That's the part that hurts the most. I was afraid, Marcus, she said. You were so angry even before you knew. I just wanted peace. He laughed quietly. Peace. You're something else. They pulled up to a small cabin by a lake. It looked abandoned. No lights, no sound, just trees and water. Why are we here? She asked, her voice shaking. I used to come here with my dad, Marcus said. When he was mad at the world, he'd come here and clear his head. Mariah didn't move. Marcus, I don't want to be here. But he had already stepped out and walked around to her side. He opened her door and reached in. Come on, it's just for a moment. Mariah got out slowly. Her legs felt weak. She followed him toward the edge of the lake. The wind picked up. Do you know what my father used to say? Marcus asked, looking at the water. Mariah didn't answer. He said women were dangerous, that they use lies like weapons, that if a man lets his guard down, she'll destroy him. She stepped back. You're scaring me. He turned slowly to face her. His eyes were blank, cold. You destroyed me, Mariah. You killed the man I was supposed to be. You were supposed to give me a son. She shook her head. You're sick. I'm leaving. She turned to walk away, but he grabbed her arm. Tight. Let go, she screamed. He shoved her hard. She fell to the ground, gasping. He stood over her, breathing heavy. I can't let her be born into lies. Mariah looked up, face wet with tears and rain. Please think of her. She's your daughter. He paused, just for a second. Then everything went dark. A loud crack, then silence. Somewhere deep in the woods, a bird flew off into the sky. The wind carried the sound of the rain and the end of a heartbeat. 3 days later, the town of Lexington was buzzing with worry. No one had seen or heard from Mariah Jackson since her doctor's appointment. Her sister Tina was frantic. I told her not to go back to him, Tina cried to Officer Ryan Bennett, the detective assigned to the missing persons case. She said she'd just stop by the clinic, then come stay with me. But she never showed. Officer Bennett, a calm but sharp 42-year-old detective with years of experience, leaned forward in his chair. When was the last time you spoke to her? Right before the appointment. She didn't answer afterward. And her boyfriend, Marcus Hines? Tina's face hardened. He's dangerous. He hated that she was having a girl. He found out 3 days ago, she told me. After that, he started acting strange. She said he threw things, yelled, and then went quiet. Officer Bennett scribbled in his notepad. Has he reported her missing? Tina blinked. Number, of course not. That was enough for Bennett to start digging. He and his partner, Detective Carla Lewis, paid Marcus a visit at his garage later that day. He was under a car, pretending not to notice them. Marcus Hines? Bennett asked. Depends on who's asking. Lexington PD. We're looking for Mariah Jackson. She's been missing for 3 days. Marcus slid out slowly, wiping oil from his hands. Mariah? She ain't missing. She just left me. Left you? Carla asked. Yeah, we had a fight. She found out I was talking to my ex. Guess she couldn't handle it. Bennett raised an eyebrow. That's not what her sister said. Marcus shrugged. Her sister always hated me. Where were you the night of her appointment? Bennett continued. Marcus looked up at the ceiling, pretending to think. Home, drinking, fell asleep on the couch. Anyone confirm that? Nope, I was alone. Carla stepped forward. She was 32 weeks pregnant, Marcus. If something happened to her, or the baby, we need to know. I told you, I don't know where she is. As they left, Bennett muttered, too calm, too clean. Back at the station, they pulled up surveillance footage from the clinic parking lot. There she was, Mariah, leaving the building. A few seconds later, a black SUV pulled in. Carla leaned forward. That's him. That's Marcus's vehicle. Next, they tracked her cell phone location. The signal disappeared near an old road by the lake. No towers, no coverage. The same direction Marcus's family owned a cabin. With a warrant in hand, the detectives drove out to the property. It was quiet, overgrown, abandoned. Inside the cabin, everything was dusty. No signs of a struggle, but outside near the lake, they noticed something strange. A patch of dirt that looked recently disturbed. They called in the K9 unit. 2 hours later, the dog started barking wildly. The soil was dug up carefully, and there, just beneath the surface, wrapped in a blanket that read Daddy's Girl, they found her, Mariah, unmoving, still, and next to her, a tiny lifeless body curled close to hers. The unborn daughter, gone before she could take her first breath. Detective Bennett stood in silence, jaw tight. She tried to protect her, Carla whispered. Back at the station, Marcus was arrested without incident, but the calm mask he wore cracked as soon as the cuffs clicked. You don't understand, he shouted. She lied. She lied to me. Bennett stared him down. You didn't just kill a woman, Marcus. You killed a child. Your child. And for the first time, Marcus didn't speak. He just lowered his head. The courtroom in Lexington was packed. Reporters, locals, and family members all gathered to witness the trial of Marcus Hines. The air was thick with grief and tension. The news had called it the gender murder, a brutal case of control, betrayal, and loss. Mariah's family sat in the front row. Her sister Tina gripped their mother's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. The pain in their eyes said everything words couldn't. Marcus walked in wearing an orange jumpsuit, his wrists shackled. He looked thinner, unshaven, his once proud stare now hollow. The prosecutor, Assistant District Attorney Claire Monroe, stood confidently in front of the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice firm, "this is a case about power, control, and a woman's right to choose what she shares about her own pregnancy. Mariah Jackson didn't commit a crime. She was a victim, a woman who tried to protect herself and her unborn child from a man who couldn't handle the truth. And that truth was that he was having a daughter." She let the silence settle. "And for that, he killed her." Gasps filled the courtroom. Marcus's defense attorney, Martin Blake, tried to paint a different picture. Mr. Hines had no intention of harming Mariah, he claimed. He was under extreme emotional distress. The loss of trust, the buildup of pressure, it overwhelmed him. This was not a cold-blooded murder. It was a tragedy, yes, but not premeditated. But the evidence was too strong. Surveillance footage, cell phone records, the location of the body, the blanket, and worst of all, Mariah's own diary, found by her sister after her death. In it, Mariah had written, "Marcus is changing. I can't tell him it's a girl. I'm scared. What if he hurts me? What if he hurts her?" That entry was dated 4 days before she died. The courtroom went silent as Tina read it aloud. Even the judge looked shaken. Detective Bennett testified next. "We followed the signal from Mariah's phone," he explained. "We found her buried near a lake cabin owned by Marcus's family. No one else had access." Claire Monroe stood. "Did Marcus ever report her missing?" "No," Bennett said. "In fact, he told us she left him. Voluntarily." The jury watched emotionless, but their eyes said it all. Marcus never once took the stand. His silence spoke louder than anything he could have said. On the final day of the trial, Claire Monroe delivered her closing statement. Mariah Jackson was weeks away from becoming a mother. She had chosen to wait before sharing her baby's gender. That choice cost her everything. But it wasn't her fault. The fault lies with the man who decided her secret was too much to bear, who saw her silence as betrayal, and who responded with violence. She turned toward Marcus. Mariah didn't just lose her life. Her baby, his baby, lost hers too. This is not just a case about murder. It's a case about a man who thought he owned the truth. And when he didn't get it, he took 2 lives to feel in control again. When the jury returned, the courtroom stood still. The forewoman rose. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Marcus Hines, guilty of first-degree murder and guilty of fetal homicide." Tina broke down in tears. Mariah's mother fainted. Marcus sat frozen, eyes wide, as if hearing it for the first time. The judge sentenced him to life without parole. But for Mariah's family, there was no real justice, because nothing would bring her, or her baby girl, back. A soft wind blew through Hillcrest Memorial Cemetery as the sun peeked through gray clouds. Dozens of people gathered under the large oak tree that now shaded Mariah Jackson's final resting place. Her casket was white, small, too small for someone who had carried life inside her. Beside it was a second, even smaller box, pure white, lined with pink lace. Tina stood at the front, holding a framed photo of Mariah, her sister's smile frozen forever in time. The funeral had been delayed until after the trial. The family couldn't bear to lay her to rest until justice had been served. Now that it had, grief came crashing in like a wave too long held back. The minister's voice echoed gently through the rows of mourners. "Today we say goodbye to not just a sister, a daughter, a friend, but also a little girl who never got to meet the world, a life cut short before it ever truly began." Tina stepped up to speak. Her voice trembled, but she held her head high. "My sister was brave. She always saw the good in people, even when they didn't deserve it. She deserved love. She deserved safety. She deserved to hold her daughter in her arms, and instead, she had to protect her with her own life." Tears rolled down faces across the crowd. Some people looked away, others wept openly. Even the wind seemed to hush. "I wish I had made her come to my house that day. I wish I had gone to the clinic with her. I wish, I wish I could bring her back, but I can't. So I'll do what she would want. I'll tell her story. I'll speak her name. And I'll fight so no other woman has to die just for saying no. After the service, Tina stayed behind with her mother and a few close friends. They placed tiny pink roses on both graves. The headstone for Mariah read, Mariah Jackson, 1996 to 2024. She carried love and she gave it even when it hurt. Beside it, baby girl Hines, born in heaven, loved on earth. Later that evening, Tina sat at her kitchen table with a notebook open and a plan forming. She was going to start a foundation in Mariah's name, a place where pregnant women could get help if they were afraid, a shelter, a hotline, a support group, something that could catch women before they fell. She called it Mariah's Voice. Over the next few months, news outlets across the country picked up the story. Headlines read, Pregnant Woman Murdered Over Baby Gender, a Wake-Up Call, Justice for Mariah, Domestic Violence in America. From grief to change, Sister of Murdered Woman speaks out. Tina became a speaker at high schools and clinics, sharing her sister's story. Every time she told it, it hurt. But every time she told it, someone in the room cried. Someone stayed behind to talk. Someone whispered, I'm scared too. And Tina would help them. Back in prison, Marcus sat in a cold cell. His trial was over, but his memories weren't. Every night he heard her voice. Every night he saw her eyes full of fear. And every night he dreamed of the baby girl he never got to hold. He had taken a life to protect his pride. Now he had nothing left but silence. 1 year had passed. Lexington looked the same from the outside. Same diners, same old buildings, same quiet streets. But for many people, something had changed. They now walked with more awareness, more caution, especially the women. At the heart of that change was Mariah's voice, the foundation Tina had built from her pain. It started with one phone line, one volunteer, and a small rented office. Now it had 3 counselors, a legal aid partner, a shelter for expecting mothers, and a monthly community event focused on emotional safety and relationships. On the 1-year anniversary of Mariah's death, a memorial vigil was held at the park near the lake, just a mile from where she'd been found. People from across Kentucky came to light candles, hold flowers, and say her name. Tina stood before them, a microphone in one hand, a framed photo in the other. Behind her stood a painted wall that read, Her silence wasn't a weakness. It was a shield. She looked out over the crowd and took a deep breath. I used to think justice was the end, she began, that if we got a guilty verdict, we'd find peace. But justice, it's just the beginning. The wind blew gently through the trees. Mariah was more than a victim. She was a sister, a nurse, a friend, and a soon-to-be mother. She laughed loudly. She sang off-key. She dreamed of decorating a pink nursery and dancing with her daughter in their socks. Tina paused, holding back tears. She died for a secret she had every right to keep. And we will not forget her. We will not let her story fade. The crowd lit their candles. One by one, the flames flickered to life. The glow spread through the park like hope itself. In the front row, a young woman named Danielle held her newborn baby girl, safe and healthy. A few months ago, Danielle had escaped her abusive partner after attending one of Tina's talks. I owe my life, and hers, to Mariah, she had whispered that morning. Tina smiled through her tears as she spotted Danielle. This was why she kept going. Back in his prison cell, Marcus Hines sat alone, staring at the ceiling. His days all blurred together. Cold food, cold bed, and no visitors. The other inmates had heard about what he did. They didn't respect child killers. He kept to himself now, silent, broken. He had nothing left but memories, and none of them were kind. Sometimes, in the silence of the night, he heard Mariah's voice. Sometimes he saw her in dreams, holding the child he never met. They never spoke in those dreams. They just looked at him, and he always woke up choking on guilt. But in Lexington, Mariah's name lived on. Her story was shared in schools, in clinics, in shelters. A mural of her holding her belly with a gentle smile was painted on the wall of the New Women's Center. Below it, words in bold, Mariah Jackson, 1996 to 2024. Her voice was silenced. Now it speaks for others. And so it did. Every day. Forever.